My fish fam, it's Nikachu, Merfolk Master, and today we're going to be playing Modern Merfolk, but there's one card missing. Can you tell what it is? That's right, there's no Ether Vial in this deck. Why on earth would we want to do that? Also, before I answer that question, let's just talk about how we even got here. I got a 5-0 with a Vialist Merfolk deck, and then coincidentally, Stonehart, a member of the Merfolk community, also got a 5-0 with the Merfolk deck without Ether Vial. And then all of a sudden, someone from Japan was in an open and made a top 8 without Ether Vial. I guess they were inspired by our 5-0s. So maybe there's something going on here. Why would that be the case? So in our particular environment with Boros energy, I actually think Ether Vial is a terrible play. It's not that good. They've got a lot of removal, so they're going to shoot a lot of things down. It's not really a tempo matchup. We need to interact with them on turn 1. And it's actually a lot more useful if they play like Oscillate Pride turn 1, this 1/1 first striker with lifelink that makes tokens. It's actually better to play turn 1 Dockhand. Like, just to threaten to block the damn thing. If you go turn 1 Ether Vial, they'll go, like, turn to a Johnny and attack and make a token, and now the game spirals really out of control. So being able to immediately impact the board on turn 1 is going to be more important. Like, I was in so many situations where I want to play Dismember turn 1. I don't even want to play my Ether Vial, so why am I playing the Ether Vial at all? And then you get up into these situations versus like Mono Black Scam, where the Ether Vial is like really awkward. So anyway, there is enough matchups in the format right now where Ether Vial seems somewhat dubious. And on top of that, Ether Vial always took up too many of the mana slots. So if you play like 21 lands, you're not guaranteed to curve into your third land by turn 3. But if you play with 24 mana sources, 24 lands, you are way more likely to curve into your turn 3 Harbinger of the Seas, to hit the Tron decks, to enable that Island Walk, or even hit Boros Energy, Boros and Mardu Energy. Undisputedly, the number one way I beat the energy decks is through Mana Screw, or a Harbinger of the Seas backed up by Tide Shaper, maybe even a little bit of help with Dockhand. And the innovation from Stonehart in this deck is actually to add Spreading Seas. So I actually do win a good chunk of games versus energy by going turn 2 Spreading Seas, hit one of the mana sources, and follow it up with Tide Shaper, hit the other mana source. Not 100% reliable. Sometimes they make treasures with Ragavan. Sometimes they just keep curving out, but they only have 21 lands in their deck, so it's actually not super likely that they also curve out into their third, fourth lands. It's not reliable whatsoever. So sometimes you just turn them into a mono blue deck. They can't play anything anymore, can't play removal spells, can't play any more creatures, and then you quickly overrun them with your lords. So I had my own version in the past, but Stoneheart developed the deck significantly more with Spreading Seas. Although Stoneheart really liked, and originally I played with Lorien Revealed in the main, but after playing enough with Vialist, I very rarely cast Lorien Revealed, to the point I'm like, it is more of a liability to the deck than not. If I'm only using this card to fetch out an island like 95+% of the time, I don't think it's worth it. I want to play with Glasspool Mimic, which basically shares similar attributes. Like, if you're going to play Lorien Revealed, basically it's like putting a land into play tap, because you have to tap a land to go get a land. Glasspool Mimic at 3 mana will be very castable to copy your Harbinger of the Seas, your Lords, or that's about it. That's all you're basically going to want to copy, unless you want to copy a Dockhand or a Tide Shaper or a Mutavault, which is also possible. It's possible as well. So we're trying to maximize what we can do on turn 1. We can play Dockhand turn 1. We can play Dismember turn 1 to interact with our opponent's creatures. We got Force Negation in the main. I have no strong opinion if Flare Denial or Force Negation should be in the main. This was more Stoneheart's liking. And I'm playing with Subtlety. Actually, it was also Stoneheart's Subtlety to put the Hexcatcher in the sideboard. Maybe we don't even need Hexcatcher. Hexcatcher looks so poorly positioned in Modern Modern period. But, I mean, Hexcatcher is still very good versus Nadu and the control deck, so maybe we got to keep it around. And I'm going to be playing with Stern Scolding to give us a little bit more game versus the energy decks, which use a lot of their creatures. The creatures have ETBs. The best way to beat an ETB is to not even let it enter the battlefield in the first place. Just Stern Scolding the damn thing. Interact as cheaply as possible. Okay, with that, I don't think I have anything else to say. With that, let's get into our modern league. We lost the die roll here. This hand looks super dubious. If I was on the play, I'd like to keep it, because I could go turn 1 Glasspool Mimic, turn 2 probably Sink into Stupor, maybe force something, play Sveloon. But we're on the draw. I'm just trying to think, like, is there any deck that I can beat on the draw with this hand? Probably not. Maybe it'd be fine versus control, or not. I don't think there's enough decks I can beat on the draw with this type of hand, so I'm going to mulligan it. It's just too risky. This hand's fine. This hand looks good. I'll keep, and we will shuffle back a Glasspool Mimic, because I'm... could be a Harbin. Hold on. Let's cancel that. I definitely want to have Dismember for turn 1. If I draw a Lord, I think I'm just going to live off of the Harbingers. The Harbinger of the Seas is like your I-win machine, so maybe we're going to be up against a matchup where we're going to play Harbinger, they're going to kill it, and then we have the backup Harbinger. We're up against a Steam Vents deck, which looks good enough to me. Ooh, Tide Shaper. Play on turn 1 or turn 2. Steam Vents, what are we up against? Control. Control is one option. All right, let's get the beatdowns going. Let's play this on Merfolk. Play our Tide Shaper. And let's just start beating down for 2. Because there's definitely some world where you want to hold back your Tide Shaper and, you know, Spreading Sea something. Yeah, looks like we're up against Jeskai Control. Now, this deck will be slightly worse versus Jeskai Control, of course, because we don't have Ether Vial. But I still think this deck with 4 Cavernous Souls and a lot of disruption is going to have enough game that it's not going to matter. And I think I'm going to preserve our Glasspool Mimic, and I'm just going to play our Mutavault, and we're going to pass. Dismember is not going to play a big role in this game, unfortunately. Now, Tide Shaper... Sort of wish I still had this Tide Shaper, mostly because if our opponent fetches a basic mountain, they found a Lorien Revealed, they dumped it. I guess they're like, we don't need any more lands here. Don't need any more lands. Too bad I can't play Hexcatcher and force our opponent to, like, put a little bit of pressure on our opponent to deal with it. Well, attack for 2. Attack for 2, Z's. What are the odds you don't have a removal spell? What are the odds? I think the odds are pretty bad that you don't have... But we have 2 Harbinger of the Seas. So we don't beat Galvanic Discharge. We do beat a lot of counterspells. We counterspell, Spell Snare, Spell Pierce. We just don't beat Galvanic Discharge or Lightning Bolt. And what's like the worst thing that could happen the following turn? Maybe a 1 ring, but I can't do anything about that. All right, we have 2 Harbinger of the Seas. Let's spend one of them here. And if they float a red, so be it. And then hopefully I will be more patient with the second one. I'm just taking a shot in the dark here. Okay, they did not have a means of beating this thing, which is fine. Which is good actually. Okay, so they're playing Subtlety. We're going to put the Harbinger back on top of our deck. Because we have... It's obviously a threat, so if they can deal with the first one... They can't really deal with the first one. They're definitely not going to deal with the second one. And they did get rid of the Spell Snare, which is completely stone cold useless because of our Cavernous Souls. And they don't have a lot of mana here. Oh, looks like we're going to see a Flage. Which means our opponent is now going to need not only another Subtlety... actually, a Subtlety will do it. Okay, we'll play a second Harbinger of the Seas. And I'm a little bit inclined to get this Glasspool Mimic in play. We're just going to play this Glasspool Mimic. so that I have Sink into Stupor available by next turn, just in case I need to save my Harbinger of the Seas from anything. Now, it is important to note I've turned on all their counter spells, right? Because of this. Of the One Ring. Alright, the One Ring can resolve. The game of digging. Digging for stuff. I think I'm just going to empty our hand here. Play another Harbinger. Play Tide Shaper. Sure. Get a little bit of pressure here. A little pressure on the board. Now, Dismember is not completely useless. Our opponent has, like, a lot of mana. So there's definitely a world where they're going to have just, like, 6 mana up, and we're going to attack, and they're going to flash in their Subtlety, and then we got to play Dismember on it. Lorn Revealed? Okay. They need their basics. They don't get them basics. They don't live. And actually, what's a cool thing is they might activate the One Ring to try to draw 3 cards, and we try to, and then we let them, and then we Sink into Stupor, like the next One Ring that comes down. Although it looks like they have enough mana to play One Ring and also back it up with counter magic at this point. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Because if they spin the wheel and they're wrong, they lose. Unfortunately, they have the land. But we're going to play a Sink. We're going to do our best here. Oh, they do have a counterspell. Okay. Maybe they can get themselves out of this mess. But it requires them getting red mana. The lowly few red mana they have left in their deck. Now, what would we like to see here? I'm not sure. They have to discard to hand size. Never good for them. We got Lord here. I'll get the Lord in play because that guarantees. Oh, they could play Spell Snare here. Okay, not. But anyway, it guarantees that if they don't have a one ring following up, that they die. So they'll take 1 damage here. I expect that there's going to be another One Ring. I think they're looking for Solitudes and white cards. But they need like 2 Solitudes is the problem. And I have like 2 Harbinger of the Seas in play. Okay, there's the next One Ring. As expected. I mean, this might be a game where they just go through all their One Rings. They might play all 4 One Rings, draw a billion cards, and still not going to be good enough. Hopefully it's not good enough. Force of Negation. Would love an extra blue card in hand. I do not got it, though. Pass the turn, opponent. Pass the turn. They can play 2 One Rings in 1 turn if they wanted to. The power of the Harbinger of the Seas. You see the power. Look, they got their basic land. They got basic land, but it's the island. Oh, poor them. We're not, or not really. I don't feel sorry for them at all. I'm just wondering if it's better to let this resolve. It seems so silly, though. Like, they have to have a lot of counter magic. Like, they had counter magic, like, from the beginning of the game. Is there anything that can bounce their One Ring? I don't think so. I'm just thinking if I should just be prepared for the last One Ring. Or if I draw... Oh, I don't have Tashanda's Tidebinder in this deck at all. Tashanda's Tidebinder, very good in this matchup. We're just going to have to live without it, though. Richard and Dockhand. I'm not even going to play it because I sort of want to Sink into Stupor. The next One Ring. I want to Sink into Stupor the next One Ring, and then, oh, is that it? We done? Well, we finally ran out of things to do, and they got a discard to hand size. Rat the Skies, of course. Of course! Okay, we'll just play a land and attack for 9. Was that it? Was that... Is there an Ottawa here? Draw Draw 4 cards and put 2 cards in your hand on Brain Surge. Draw 4 cards? So you're like looking for a Solitude, perhaps? You're definitely looking for at least 1 Solitude. So if you kill one of these lords, one of the Harbingers, I'm just going to let it happen. This deck draws a lot of cards. But we don't need to draw a lot of cards, because the Harbinger of the Seas saved us there. Okay, I don't know that much about what's in our opponent's deck, so I don't think we need Stern Scolding. Definitely Hexcatcher is going to help. Flare of Denial is good. Huge fan of Flare. We're maybe a fan of Subtlety as well. Cards that are not good. Sprinting Seas is like just awkward because of Wrath the Skies. I don't think it's all that necessary. Dismember, of course, is going to be very poor. Cards that we can shave down on, like maybe Svelun. And I know Harbinger of the Seas like helped us win that game, but we don't need that many Harbinger of the Seas. Maybe we don't even need that many Subtleties in the grand scheme of things. Actually, Dockhand should be poor, but the thing is, I don't have anything else to do. I really... Okay, we're going to bring in this Harbinger. We're going to bring the Harbinger back. We're just going to go all in on this Harbinger, and I guess we bring in another Subtlety. I don't have that many things. Maybe I'm just supposed to take out all the Dockhands. The thing is, it's not really good on turn 1. It's just not really good, period. Does this deck have Snapcaster Mage? I think maybe all the control decks have Snapcaster Mage. But I don't want to look it up right now. Dockhand is like a really good way to support like Lord next turn, Hexcatcher, but overall it's just like a 1 power thing. Usually I just side it out and lean on Ether Vial. In this case, I think we have to keep it in. I guess we're just gonna submit the deck as is. Our hand is fine. It's not great. But Cavernous Souls can blank a lot of their cards. So the thing is, these a lot of the control decks these days, and even Murktide decks, they're running a lot of counter magic. So much counter magic they can't side it out, generally speaking. Like, because their counter magic is actually relatively good versus... I think it's relatively good versus energy. They're playing with, they're playing with Spell Snare. They're playing with... Spell Snare, they're playing with Stubborn Denial, not Stubborn Denial. Stern Scolding. Stern Scolding is what I was thinking of. So they actually can't avoid playing counter magic. They're playing Counterspell, of course. So we're just going to go Cavernous Souls, Merfolk. I'm sure that our opponent is very unsatisfied seeing that card. And we'll just go pass. You're going to get a basic Plains. Yeah, that's right. You would do that, won't you, opponent? You need it. You need it or you're screwed. I'll play Hexcatcher at end of turn. Our situation's not beautiful, especially since our opponent can go... Flage next turn. They can go Flage. Do I just attack for 1 and do nothing and let it get Flaged to death? Or do I play a Lord and go for more? I guess I'm... it's a tough call. I'm going to just play a Lord and then play Mutavault. And then maybe we'll play a... If they play Flage, so be it, and then I'll play another Lord and Mutavault, and maybe we'll attack crack for a good chunk of damage, and if there's a critical spell, we'll counter it with Flare of Denial. At the moment, they can't go Wrath the Skies for 2, because I'll just counter that with the Hexcatcher. And remember, our opponent also has to be like super hyper-conscious not to tap out, or they could be just dead. Okay, they found a card that they like. They put it on top of their deck. Okay, they do have Flage here. I think we just let it resolve. This is sort of part of my plan. They kill something, I play a Lord. I attack for a good chunk of damage. Hopefully there's no Supreme Verdict. Dockhand. Does that change my plan? So Flage can't come back yet. That's the dealie. It's not come back for a while. Alternatively, I can attack for 1 and pass. But then when do I play this Lord? Maybe never. Maybe never. So I'm hoping that I've committed what I need to commit now to the board, and then after this, I'm going to try to play at instant speed with my Sync, my Flare, and my Subtlety. And I'm willing to commit to the board only because my opponent tapped out, so they couldn't play on my turn, and now if they want to do anything, they have to do it on their turn. For the record, if they play the One Ring, I will Flare it. They're going to play Elegant Parlor. Another Flage? No, it's going to be One Ring. It's going to be Wrath. Oh, it's playing Flage from the graveyard. Okay, for that, we could actually just go... Nah, probably Sub is not that good. I have to counter this thing. Because if I go Subtlety, say pitch Dockhand, they'll put it back on top. And hold on, am I close to winning? This is like 9 damage. That's a lot of damage. So maybe I can go Subtlety, pitch something, and then go like play Sink It to Stupor attack. Yeah, actually I like that. If I draw a land, it'd be even better. Because then I can go Sink. Yeah, I didn't even see this line. So we're like super far ahead. Even if our opponent plays Supreme Verdict, they might be in a lot of trouble. Because I still have the Mutavault. So hoping to draw a land so I don't have to... So I have both Sync and Flare up. They put on top of their library, so they plan on playing this Flage next turn. Well, that's better in some sense because we have lethal now with this Hexcatcher. Drew the Hexcatcher. We'll force our opponent to... Oh, it looks like they have Solitude. They're like, not passing priority just yet. Oh, we just win the match. Oh, opponent says... opponent says they didn't pay attention to our Cavern. So I guess they were holding up mana for a counterspell, and it was just completely pointless. So again, yeah, Cavern of Souls, still very good versus this matchup because they just can't help but keep the counterspells, and it has nothing to do with them. These control decks and Murktide decks, they are loaded with counter spells and they can't remove them versus us. There's just not enough cards to side in, and so that's just a benefit for us. So you can't say like, oh, they kept in counter magic. They made a mistake. They have no choice. They just have no choice. Hence, that's our edge versus these control decks and Murktide decks and so on. All right, that was match 1. We'll move on to match 2. Here for match 2, I'm on the draw again. Now, weird thing is we can't curve immediately into our 2-drops, but the thing is we don't have many 2-drops. It is mostly 3-drops over here, so I think we can still keep this hand. And depending on what our opponent does turn 1, maybe I'll play Glasspool Mimic, maybe I'll play the Island so I can hold up Dismember. But if I'm tripped up on my 2-drops, that's not a big deal because really we want to lean on the Svaeloon and stuff like that. So I'll play Glasspool on turn 2. Ooh, it's like Black Burn. Well, that's not good at all. This is going to be terrible for us. Okay, so what they showed us Dismember? Oh god. Well, they know about it now, all right? So they at least know about one of them. Looks like we're up against Black Burn though. The good news is that Harbinger of the Seas usually just wrecks them on the spot. So if we do curve into our third land, we could just end up playing this Harbinger, and then there's Stone Cold Dead. But they're going to play Wooded Foothills, get the mountain appropriately, and then create more problems for us. Well, we're going to die the most miserable way possible. We're going to take 7 damage here, and then even more damage the following turn. And they have such a good hand, too. Sink into Stupor. No, that's going to deal even more damage to us. Okay, well. Got to do what we got to do in this economy. We got to do what we got to do. Force negation would be really good right now. Except I know I'm drawing a Sink into Stupor next turn. Now here's the $1,000,000 question. What the hell do I do to not die instantly? So this is going to deal 3 damage to me too. I'm going to dismember another creature. What a painful start. We're just helping them, you know? Yeah, bump in the night. Get that prowess going. I'm going to be very close to dead. Or am I just dead now? It's 3 damage. I deal 4 to myself. Yeah, I can't win here. Okay. Opponent had a great hand. Actually, we had just a brutally bad hand. So what do we want here? All the mana screw stuff, that's for sure. No dismembers. Please. Okay, we want Stern Scolding. We'll want Hex Catcher. We actually don't want the Island Walk Lords. They're like clunky and not particularly useful. Spreading Seas on the play is going to be good. I'll take it out on the draw. I don't mind having Dock Hands. Maybe I take out the Master of the Pearl Trident and we bring in Flare of Denial. Like basically anything. So I'll bring in Subtlety on the draw and probably take out the Spreading Seas. So the thing is, against like Burn, the Island Walk Lords are terrible. They're like really, really bad. They're not necessary. So what do we have here to win the game? Okay, Glasspool Mimic is not really a card. So we'll have Harbinger of the Sea, Sveiloon, Hexcatcher, Tideshaper, Dockhand. Honestly, I feel like we're a bit threat light here. So maybe... do we need to go all in on this Mana Screw plan? Maybe I take out the Dockhand and I bring in some... I need a little bit of beef. I don't need that much beef, but I do need a little bit of beef. So I think this will be good enough. But if I had like more threats in my deck in the main deck, then the Island Walk Lords are not that necessary in the Burn matchup. You're like controlling them or you're not. This is how I look at it. On the draw, maybe I'll bring in... no, Dockhand on the draw is not that great either. Okay, we're going to go first. Hand is poor. We have nothing to do on turn 1, 2, or anything. If this was Force Negation, maybe I would keep this. I'm going to mulligan this. I think we can do a lot better. This hand doesn't have a second land. So we go Glasspool Mimic. It's pretty good. So I go Glasspool Mimic. If we don't draw a land, though, we're dead. We're like really, 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 really dead. If we do draw a land, we're in reasonable shape. Sorry, we need to draw a land in like 2 turns because we can Stern Scolding for at least a turn, which is fine. So I go Glasspool Mimic. They'll play a 1-drop. I'll untap. I'll have the Glasspool Mimic up to Stern Scolding something. We're still not really doing... I don't really want to mulligan further though. So I guess we're gonna keep... There are like decent 5-card hands we can draw though, especially with Spreading Seas. It would slow them down so much. Okay, I don't want to risk it too much. Let's mulligan one more time. This hand is good enough for me. Okay, we're going to keep this, and I guess we're dumping... definitely 1 sink. I guess we're going to throw away 2 lands and hope for the best. Done. I really don't want to do this, but I guess we are going to shock ourselves and then pass. Svelun is very good in this matchup. What else is good in this matchup? Svelun and Harbinger of the Seas are both good in this matchup. I love it when Goblin Guide resolves, but at the same time, I don't want to take 4 damage from that damn thing. Okay. Wow. Well-timed island. Very well-timed. Play Cavern of Souls anyway. If I play Island, it sort of represents that I just drew that card, because otherwise I would have played that on turn 1. Getting hit by Bolt immediately. Secure the critics. If I drew Spreading Seas, I would hit the mountain immediately. There's a lot of red cards for 2 mana that hurt us, so I'm going to start off with the Harbinger of the Seas. Like Searing Blaze, for example. So if they want to... This will still be a Lightning Bolt Rod. If I play Svelun, they could just empty their hand. Oh, they got more mountains. Harbinger of the Seas is not doing very much here. And it also looks like our opponent doesn't even care. Damn you, sink into stupor. Damn you. Damn you to hell. And pass. Probably die here. Rift Bolt to the face. Oh, maybe we don't die. Okay, so if we draw counter magic. Some counter magic? Not counter magic. Maybe not bad, though. Okay, so let's attack for... some stuff. Strange Scolding, not good at all. Not what I want to see. Unless they play a creature. If we drew like Spreading Seas or a Tide Shaper, that would have been good. Play creature. It's like the only thing I can play around. No, they got it. Okay, good games. I think the matchup should be heavily favored for us, but our game 1 hand was terrible, and their game 1 hand was very good. And then of course in game 2 we mulliganed down to 5, so we were horribly disadvantaged. If we have, like, for example, if we got to keep a Flare Denial, a Force Negation, I think we are in very good shape. Or actually, if we had what's it called? If we had an island instead of the stupid Soporific Springs for turn 1, then that also would have been very good, because we would have had 3 more life to pay for this thing. What was our next draw? Oh, sorry, 2 draws, because we get to draw with Svelun. Yeah, we probably lose this one anyway, even at 5 cards, but we would have had a much better chance. At least if we had an island here. I'm very confident that... I'm very confident in this matchup. I would be very happy to play against it a million times. Okay, that was round 2. Let's move on to round 3. All right, we are... did we win the die roll? We lost the die roll again. My kingdom for a die roll win. We'll keep it, though. We're going to bold ourselves on turn 1, but very likely we'll play... Oh, we're up against Tron. Tron! So we'll go, like, turn 1 Dockhand into turn 2 Tide Shaper, and hopefully into another Tide Shaper. And our opponent, keeping 7 cards on the play. It's going to be... That's going to be a dangerous start for us. Sorry, it's going to be dangerous for us. It's very hard to compete with their mana. One of the most brutal cards from them is the Kozilek's Command, and that just eats up Tide Shaper very easily. And they already start off with Eldrazi Temple. It's already looking a bit like bad news for us here. All right, we're going to pay 2 life, and I'm going to play Dockhand and pass. But at least we do have Spreading Seas in the main, although I do think Spreading Seas is overall worse than, what's it called, Damping Sphere. I think Damping Sphere is above and beyond better. So it's like I'm playing Legacy, and so being on the draw is just so brutal here. So they can start the game off with... Ooh, they're going to do nothing, which means they got Kozilek's Command. This is like... 10 out of 10, they have Kozilek's Command. They just want to eat up like a Lord of Atlantis. So, I think we should not oblige them at all. You know, they're just going to eat up whatever we play. And I don't want them to eat up anything. So I think I'm going to play an island. I'm just going to pass and try to choke their mana. Like, if they want to play Kozilek's Command, well, you have to eat this thing, because I'm not going to let you eat anything else. So I'm going to pass and go to their upkeep. It's just like 10 out of 10 Kozilek's Command. And here it comes. I know. I've been down this route before. And I just don't think it's worth it to play Tide Shaper and let it get eaten up. I'd rather they play Kozilek's Command and then we start trying to Tide Shaper these lands later. Yeah. This is very hard for us. I cannot express how perfect our opponent's hand right now is versus us. Given the fact that they also got really greedy. Like, this is supreme. They should just go Kozilek's Command for 1. Because if I have Hexcatcher here, which is partially what I'm representing, then they get nothing. I would just, like, throw in the Hexcatcher, eat up the Kozilek's Command. They should just go for 1. That was a little way too greedy. They put 1 card on top, though, and 1 card on the bottom. So they got a card that they like. They like that card, do they? They like it. Talisman. See, that's another problem with these. I guess it could be just an Eldrazi deck, not a Tron deck. No, it's Tron. Okay, it's Eldrazi Tron or Eldrazi. They all blur together. They're all the same to me, basically. They got Tron lands. They got Eldrazi. It's all Tron. Some of the cards on some of the decks on Goldfish are called Tron, even though they have like Sowing Mycospawn. Some of them don't. But like both Eldrazi Tron and Tron have Sowing Mycospawn. Anyway, it's all the same to me between Eldrazi Tron and Tron. So what I am going to aim for is to eat up this Ugin's Labyrinth. Well timed, Spreading Seas. Oh, yes. Oh, no, really. Well, given that I drew Spreading Seas, I guess we're going to use Spreading Seas because that cannot be affected by Dismember or a Kozilek's Command. I'm eating up the Ugin's Labyrinth, so they cannot put Ulamog back in their hand and then like put on the board with all the mana that they have. See, they are not dependent on Tron mana at all, which makes this matchup so much more difficult. Which is why I'm highly recommending Damping Sphere in sideboards these days. I think it's just undisputedly the best way to deal with this nonsense. If they want to cast like All Is Dust and stuff like that, then they have to pay like an entire 7 mana. They're going to go for some sort of big play, another Sowing Mycospawn, which I believe, does that wasteland me? Yeah, so they can exile a land while they go get a land. Sure. My land is gone. We get more mana. At this point, I think I'm going to Tide Shaper and turn my own Mutavaults into islands. It's just the situation that we're in right now. You still have things to play? Oh, you're playing Devourer of Destiny and exiling my Spreading Seas to put your Ulamog back in hand. We are just dead. I can't beat this. No. Their hand was above and beyond perfect. Above and beyond perfect. Okay, we're going to bring in the Hexcatcher. I think we're bringing the Hexcatcher. We're going to take out Spheloon. We'll take out... I'm going to keep Force Negation. I think I'm going to take out Dismember for... Did I take out Dismember? I think I have a decent chunk of creatures. But I might want Subtlety more. We definitely need to have Force Negation for the One Ring and All Is Dust. Maybe I'm just going to keep it like this. Ideally, we are low to the ground in aggro. Ideally. Maybe the way that game played out, I should have just played that Tide Shaper on turn 2 and then followed up with another Tide Shaper. And I would have like one Dockhand in play. That'd been the only difference. We still would have got steamrolled pretty hard, though. Hand is terrible. One threat, too much interaction. Yeah, mulligan. Hand is good enough. We're going to keep it. I'll get rid of a Dismember, and we're going to be on a Supreme Mana Screw plan. Start off with Glasspool Mimic, turn 2 Tide Shaper, probably Tide Shaper, and then turn 3 Spreading Seas or Harbinger of the Seas. Yeah, I'd be willing to Tide Shaper that. There's just not a lot of ways of this getting punished. Oh, there is one way, actually. If I go Tide Shaper and they play Dismember, then they'll have the mana. So actually, maybe I should go for this. I should go for Spreading Seas here. Plays around. And also, it helps us get our... the cantrip will help bridge us into Harbinger of the Seas as we just drew a land. Okay, they get a Talisman, which sort of sucks, because that guarantees that they have colorless mana for the rest of the game. So now we'll play our Harbinger of the Seas. Because if they don't have Talisman, now they can't play things like Kozilek's Command, which requires double colorless, and so on. So all this stuff is blanked off. Harbinger of the Seas, still good. Still good today. Ooh, the One Ring. Okay, One Ring resolves. Draw away. Tide Shapers galore. Well, we might as well play one. Alternatively, I can play another Harbinger of the Seas to play around a potential Dismember that gets drawn. Yeah, okay, let's do that. It's probably a little bit better. We just have to be concerned about all his dust mana, but I think we'll be in time with the Hexcatcher by next turn. We'll play a Tide Shaper plus Hexcatcher. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll play a 5th land here. This new Eldrazi deck, that's the reason why they gave us Harbinger of the Seas. That's why. Oh, I didn't think about Karn the Great Creator. Are they playing that? I guess so. What are you going to go get, though? Another One Ring? Well. Oh! Oh! That's weird. Now I want my Dismember back. Did we have Dismember? Or did I side that out? I don't remember now. I don't remember. Okay, well, we have to deal with this thing. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they're still off from all his dust. That's all that matters. Okay, let's kill this Karn the Great Creator. Or hopefully kill the Karn the Great Creator. Okay, yeah, it's going to kill Karn. And then we're just going to throw out a random Tide Shaper for pressure. And I mean, it depends what they play. I may or may not play a Force Negation. Because, like, the critical card we have to deal with is All Is Dust. That's the critical card we have to deal with. How much pressure do we have? We have 4, 8, 11, 11, 15. 15 damage with the Hexcatcher. And the One Ring will kill them. So if they play... Yeah, actually, if they play anything, I'm just going to counter it. So if they go for another One Ring, I'll just play Force Negation. We hit him for 15, and then the One Ring finishes them off. Yeah. And that works out for us. If they Dismember Lord, does that change much? They go to 13, and then we hit them for 9. It might actually. Might change a little bit. Okay, play our Hexcatcher. Boop! Okay, you're at 2 life. Can you gain life at instant speed? I don't think so. I don't think you have any way of doing that. So we tie it up. Harbinger of the Seas for the win. Also potentially Spreading Seas for the win. Spring Seas drew us a card. Well, we saw even less creatures this game. Yeah, maybe we do not have this Dismember. Let's get this Flare of Denial in here. Randomly play Dockhand and sack it is fine with me. I'm not in love with the hand, but it does have a Harbinger of the Seas, so I guess we're going to keep it. I should say our opponent mulligan to 6. I should say ever since they got that new Soul Land, I feel like this deck mulligans way less than it has ever before. They revealed Devourer of Destiny. Why does this card exist? This is just literally another Once Upon a Time on a creature. Like, what were they thinking? Obviously, they weren't thinking. And the sad thing is, well, you can't say Tron is like a nothing deck, because if you combine all the variations of Tron together, it makes up like 7-ish% or more. Tron / Eldrazi. Forest! Oh no. Can't mana screw that now, can we? Got a Flare of Denial though. Island pass. You're telling me you're gonna have an innocent start, are you? How innocent? There's an Urza's Mine. So not really. They're not really prepared to play. I love the well-timed Dockhand. We really could have used that on turn 1. Now, alternatively, we could use that as food for the Force of Negation, so maybe it's not all lost. Okay, so here's where they're going to play maybe Sowing Mycospawn. And unfortunately, I can't Flare of Denial it because of the trigger. I can't counter this trigger. So you're going to go get a colorless source. I'm assuming you're going to go get a Wastes. Okay, they didn't get Wastes. That's insane. You're crazy, opponent. You're really crazy. Okay, we're going to play Hexcatcher. This is going to be important because this will protect our Harbinger of the Seas. We got another Dockhand. Can never use enough Dockhands. So now if our opponent has Dismember, it's useless because we can Flare of Denial it with our Vidalian Hexcatcher. Yeah, our opponent was not... our opponent punted, I think. I mean, I don't know what else they have in their deck. We'll definitely counter this. Pitch a Dockhand. Like, standard is you have to go get a Wastes with this Sowing Mycospawn, so you have at least... Like, what do you need all this mana for? Do you really need that much mana? I don't think so. Glasspool Mimic is a pretty good draw. So we're going to start off with Dockhand, and then I'm just going to copy our Hexcatcher. Which will allow us to... Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can copy the Hexcatcher, which allows us to attack through this Mycospawn. And then between the Dockhand and the Harbinger of the Seas, hopefully this is just enough to hopefully close out the game. Because a gigantic chunk of their deck requires at least one colorless mana. So if they got the Wastes, they could at least do that. It's another One Ring. Boo! I don't have to counter this, but I should counter this. I'll dump a Dockhand and we'll continue to attack with our Harbinger of the Seas. Attack. Our draw sucked. It's just that, like, you can usually afford to let the One Ring resolve once. There's another One Ring. Oh, sowing Miko spawn. Okay. Well, now I wonder. Now they'll probably get a wastes. Although it may not be of any use to them at the moment, or of less use. What'd they get? They got a power plant? I don't know. What are you on, opponent? What are you doing? That is an interesting draw, the Glass Pool Mimic. Because now I can copy another Hex Catcher if I want to. Attack with everything? Does that do enough? Or I can attack with my Hex Catchers and just deal with the blockers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have this Devour of Destiny still in hand, so we know that's one of the cards. Or I could even play Glasspool Mimic, copy Hexcatcher, just attack with one of them. And if they choose to block, then I can just start attack with my Harbinger of the Seas on the following turn. What's the alternative? I attack with both. They chump block both. I don't really like that, though. Or I can even copy my Harbinger of the Seas again. So we have 2 4/4s on the battlefield. Attack. You have to block. I think they have to block. Maybe I do just copy this Harbinger of the Seas. We're going to cast this. Why not? Let's just have another Harbinger of the Seas. Do I do that? No, I want to be aggressive. Then we attack with one of these. They block, we can start attacking with Harbinger of the Seas again. It's basically the plan. That's the plan. By the way, at any moment when we draw like Lord of Atlantis, that'd be great, deck. I'd love to see a Lord of Atlantis any moment. Any time now. Karn the Great Creator. Well, now that's a card I gotta go all out and kill. Like, instantly. So it looks like the Sowing Miko spawn is gonna eat up one of our creatures. Probably. Oh, do they have Bridge? Do they have Bridge in the sideboard? Maybe. These damn creatures. Get out of my way. Well, their decision is really difficult, so... they get Shadow Spear. It's a very interesting decision. Alright, so Shadow Spear will resolve, because I can't do anything about it. Come on, Island Walk Lord! That would make things so much easier here. But the fortunate thing is if our opponent's going to attack with Shadow Spear, another Harbinger of the Seas. That's so funny. So if I attack with just the Harbinger, will they block? Like, probably? I get the sense I have to go all out. So they block here. Karn dies. Equip Shadow Spear. Attack for... what, 4? I go to 16. They go to 16. But then I'm attacking back for 7? Yeah, I think that's still... But I can't attack through the Shadow Spear anymore. I'd really like to keep all the stuff on the battlefield. Okay, then what if Karn goes minus one more time? So I guess... I gotta quickly look. I gotta know. if. A quick look at MTG Goldfish. What does a random Eldrazi Tron deck play in the sideboard with their Karn the Great Creator? Eldrazi Tron. They have Engineered Explosives. That's strong. And they can play it for 2. Tormod's Crypt. They do have Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, I don't think I have much choice here. Like, I assume Ensnaring Bridge, we have to kill this Karn the Great Creator. If I attack with just the Harbinger, they just chump block, minus, get bridge, I'm in trouble. Okay, so at least they're going to be a little bit at a decision when they want to, if they want to attack me with the spear, because they'll hit me for 4, gain 4 life, but I'm attacking them back for 7, so they net lose 3 life each time. Close game. Talisman, not happy to see that. So now All Is Dust Man is online. Also, they are 1/2 away from getting that card. They're Devourer of something. The Devourer. They could be just on blocking duty though if they want. But they lose that. They lose that war. But any Island Walker at any moment. I got rid of the Dismembers, right? Did I keep them? Yeah, I got rid of them. Which I'm fine with. You're going to be a little aggressive, aren't you, opponent? You want to be aggressive. You like the idea of your life total being at 16 instead of 12. Oh, there we go. We got the Island Walk Lord. That's everything I was hoping for this entire time. I was waiting for this millions of years ago. Okay, well, that would have made the game a lot easier, like, for the last 4 turns. But I'll take it anyway. Now we attack for 6. Now it's going to be awkward if they go land. Because if they play land All Is Dust, I will be big sad face. I'm going to have to sacrifice probably the Harbingers? Maybe not. I have to sack 2 cards. I guess I have to sack Hexcatcher, Harbinger, leave a Lord of Atlantis and a Harbinger this is in play. Go, go, Lord of Atlantis. Go, go, go. Yeah, given how strong Tron was going to be post MH3, it makes so much more sense that they would print something like Harbinger of the Seas. Maybe not just for Merfolk, because certainly other tempo-ish decks can play this card, like the Murktide decks, but it makes so much more sense they would print like such a powerful card like this into the format, just to give us some chance versus these types of decks. Okay, are they going for All Is Dust? Ugh. Oh, no, they don't have a land. Okay, that's good. So I can probably dump one of these Harbingers and then just keep the Lord. Attack for 6 for the win. If you attack for 4, that'll be for 10. I can attack back for 9, unfortunately. So what if I get rid of the Hexcatcher? I attack for 6 for the win. You attack me back. I only have 8. Just wondering if it's necessary to keep both Harbinger of the Seas in play. Or sack one of these things. I'm still attacking for 6. Sure. Hopefully they don't have Dismember. Well, actually, if they have Dismember, then they lose life. So they didn't draw a land. If they drew a land, that would have made things very complicated. So they have 2 gas cards in their hand, one of them being the Devourer of Destiny, and the other one being a random other card. So their best line, they have to attack. They don't have a choice. They attack for 4. They go to 10. I attack back for 9. They go to 1. Oh, and then Dismember's offline, so that's good. So that cuts off their outs. Unless they have another All Is Dust, then, well, that's not going to be good for me. That's not going to be not going to be great for me. Okay, well, that card is very good for me. Now I don't know what gets them out of this. Can they play Talisman into that Devourer card? No, they cannot. Okay, I'm just going to pass. By the way, I'm keeping the Cavern in my hand because there's no reason to play it out. And by keeping a random card in my hand, it's going to make it harder for my opponent to make decisions. Oh, they did have another All Is Dust. That would have made the game very complicated, but I top decked a Force Negation, so it did not make the game complicated at all. And they're dead if they do, they're dead if they don't. They decide to attack for 4 to send a message. And we will attack back for lethal. Let's play a random creature just in case. Because they could have Dismember, but it doesn't change anything. Ugin's Labyrinth is super shut down. All right, we win. Okay, that was, what was that, match 3? We'll move on to match 4. In round 4, we lost the die roll again. Honestly, I don't really like this hand. Tideshaper is not a worthwhile turn 1 play. If I knew with certainty that we were up against a blue deck of some sort, I probably would keep this, because then we can go Tideshaper turn 1, Lord turn 2, Glasspool Mimic, copy Lord turn 3. But I don't have that information, so I'm just going to mulligan for something a little bit more reasonable. This hand's a lot better. I'll keep this. And I think it's tough to see what I want to pitch away. I guess we'll pitch away a Glasspool Mimic and hope to draw a land. I guess that's what we'll do. And then depending what our opponent does turn 1, we'll either play Dismember or a Glasspool Mimic. See, several Glasspool Mimics were just a little awkward there. It's a little awkward. It looks like we're up against some sort of Yawgmoth deck. Given the fact that we're on the... Dismember was a good draw, because now I have something to do on turn 2. When I play my Glasspool Mimic. So let's slow our opponent down. Oh, it could be Nadu, by the way. It could be 4-color Nadu with this Verdant Catacombs. But one way or another, no matter what we're up against, we need to slow them down. Slow down, opponent! Slow down! Get rid of that Deleted Halfling. Misty Rainforest. Are you a Nadu deck? Oh, it looks like it is Nadu. It was Nadu all along. Now what to do? This is a huge hassle. That's all I can say. So if they play Nadu next turn... Like, we don't lose. Let's try and figure out how to, like, curve our hand out. Because if we go Lord of Atlantis this turn, and then our opponent goes Nadu, there's other things to consider, too. If our opponent doesn't have Nadu, and they're more on Court of Calling, I actually really want to kill this Springheart Nantuko. And then we can go, for example, then Sveilun on the following turn. Because I could, like, right now is a pretty good opportunity to play Glasspool Mimic. Yeah, given how clunky my hand is, I'm actually going to take this, like, slightly greedier line of killing this thing off and choking Court of Callings in hand. And if they got Nadu into Shuko, I guess we're just going to have to lose to it. We got Urza Saga covered with Harbinger of the Seas, for the most part. But I'd really like to just play Sveilun next turn and then start attacking. Nadu? Okay, we got a Nadu. Which puts us in a... Okay, we have yet another Dismember, unfortunately, for our opponent. I'll play Lord of Atlantis, and I can't remember if there's any reason to wait. Yeah, I'm going to wait. Oh, wait a minute. There is a reason. If they have cord, they can cord for the Sylvan Safekeeper. And then I lose, right? Okay, they can't do it now. Yeah, I actually should have done it immediately. It was my mistake. Oh, they could still do it, too, if they draw land. Yeah, that was my error. They found Delighted Halfling. Oh, they can still... Oh, no, they can. That goes directly into hand. Nadu? Well, I'm at 8 life. They can just aggro me out at this point. They can just aggro me out. Doesn't seem like they've got anything, though. Okay, so they fetch. What can they do? Not much. Okay, we'll attack for 2. Do they have an instant speed card? Oh no, sorry. They do have endurance. Oh, actually, I forgot about this interaction too. Yeah, sure. Okay, I guess that happens. Okay, next up, we'll just play Sveilun. Let's put a big chunky creature that can draw me some cards. Maybe draw me out of this awkward situation. Attacking with the Lord of Atlantis probably was a punt there. Ooh, Volatile Stormdrake. So you'll swipe my thing, but I get a 3-power creature too. But your 3-power creature draws cards. I don't like that at all. Yeah, and I guess that was swiping my Lord of Atlantis wasn't great. Wasn't the greatest of value. Okay, there is a Shuko here, though. Okay, so they're going to attack for 4 turn. That's not good. Oh, you can attack me immediately. Attack, block, take 2. So next turn I take 5. Funny thing is, if I kept my Lord of Atlantis, I'd still be in bad spot because they would have stolen this thing and Lord of Atlantis would have pumped it up. I'm just trying to think, like, what do we have in our deck to actually save us here? I guess we have to keep our life total high enough to try to draw a... What's it called? Sink into Stupor. So we can sink into Stupor, the Sveilun, and then put it back right into our hand. As far as I know, that is our only out. But yeah, it looks pretty good on their side, not gonna lie. Looks pretty good. We're gonna take the damage for now. They don't have a whole lot of Merfolk though. Or maybe I shouldn't have taken the damage. Yeah, I didn't really calculate the 4th Dismember left in my deck, you know? Are you guys gonna blame me for that? Yeah, I didn't anticipate the 4th last Dismember. I should have blocked with my Dock Hand. Now, I wanted to keep the Dock Hand because if I draw a Lord, I can double block the Sveilun next turn. There's way more Lords in my deck. And by Lords, I mean Hexcatcher, Master of the Pearl Trident, stuff like that. Some people are probably going to say in the comment section, that's why I don't play with 4 Dismember, because it kills me. Like, do you have any idea how rare it is to draw all 4 of your Dismembers in one game? This is actually an interesting card because we get to hit their green sources, which is more precious to them than anything else. I got a Mutavault. Sort of sad. So now we gotta, like, chump block the Sveilun. We're playing on for the sake of playing on, but we should be dead. This game should be over. It was a very good Volatile Stormdrake target. Stealing my Sveilun. How rude. Oh, now the Urza Saga comes out. Why? Like, what? Why now? Okay, we'll try to steal our Svelune. Okay, that happened. Can I attack? I actually can attack pretty freely here. There should only be one Dryad Arbor in the deck, so I don't have to worry about Windswept Heath getting Dryad Arbor and then getting pumped up by Pendelhaven. Oh, I mean, actually, there is something I should be afraid of. Court of Calling. Okay, I guess I'm not, though. I wonder, did our opponent just fled out, drawing a bunch of lands? Summoner's Pact for... Oh yeah, Nadu would do it. Nadu will do it. No, we're not technically dead, but I mean, basically we're dead. So they can equip twice. They can make a token with Urza Saga. They find Springheart Nantuko. That will be like GG super fast. Super GG's. Don't you want to target it twice? Oh, there's Springheart Nantuko. There's no way I can survive this now. Because they can just go wide with a bunch of tokens and beat me. My life total is at 4. Our opponent does not have automatic stops. Okay, I will just concede. This is not that hard for them to just go wide and beat me from here. I can't even deal with the three power flyer in the air. I was going to draw next turn. It's not bad, but wasn't going to get me out of this. Okay, cards that we want. Now, because we're not playing with Ether Vial, the deck is technically weaker versus Nadu by a decent chunk. Because Ether Vial is very nice to deploy creatures while disrupting them at the same time. And also, like, we've got a lot of good cards in the sideboard. Things like Spreading Seas are just not that necessary when we have, like, Tide Shaper and Harbinger of the Seas does a good enough job. I don't think Force Negation is... It's just not as good as Flare Denial or Subtlety, so I'll be setting them out. Cards, also cards that we don't want. Svelune is not as good, and we don't need so many Harbinger of the Seas. I like having some, so 2 is enough, in my opinion. 3, I think, is a little bit overboard, but I think I'd prefer Harbinger of the Seas a little bit more than Svelune because it interacts with Urza Saga. Sometimes you mana screw them, but most importantly, that if they have Sylvan Safekeeper out, then they need to, like, sack all their lands in order to prevent your island walk. And if they do that, well, then they're not playing anything for the rest of the game now, are they? I think that is a good trade. Now, even though we don't have Ether Vial, I do expect this to still be a good matchup. We've got a lot of good stuff. We have good turn 1 plays. Like, I depending on what's in our hand, I have no problem throwing a Tide Shaper out on turn 1, just as a naked 1/1 creature, because it can be very difficult for them to hold up, prevent themselves from having an island in play. This unfortunately is a 1-land hand. I have to mulligan. Otherwise, it looks beautiful. This is not a 1-land hand. Yeah, we're going to keep this. Keeping this, but what to put back? Maybe we put that back the Subtlety? And I go turn 1 Dockhand, turn 2 maybe Tide Shaper, turn 3 Hexcatcher. I sort of want to throw away a Glasspool Mimic, but if you throw away Glasspool Mimic, then you definitely are not going to be casting Subtlety on time, and you have to dump a card in your hand. And I sort of don't want to dump anything from my hand. But if I get rid of Subtlety, then I have no way to interact with our opponent's cards. Glasspool Mimic, clunky here. But so would, what's it called? The same thing would be true of Lorien Revealed. Or am I overrating Dockhand? Maybe I don't need a turn 1 play, and I can go Glasspool Mimic turn 1, turn 2 play Tide Shaper or Hexcatcher. Maybe that's the deal. This is maybe not the greatest Dockhand start. Okay, we'll put Dockhand on the bottom. Because Subtlety is a great tempo play here. They have a lot of creatures that you can hit. It flies in the air. I just like the card, just overall. Shifting Wildwood. Lord is convenient, so we'll play Lord of Atlantis. It's just a big chunky thing. I'd like to play Hexcatcher, but like if they put a random 1/2 in play, then I can't attack into it. No, with Lord of Atlantis in play, they'll be extra careful not to put an island in play. Extra careful. I didn't think about it at the time, but I actually did have the option to go turn 2 Tideshaper. And then I sort of want to hold on to the Tideshaper for their Urza Saga, but I had the option turn 2 shut Tideshaper. I guess Springheart Nantuko will... It doesn't need to resolve. This is their turn 2. They don't have a land drop for the turn. Okay. Glasspool Mimic. Now I'm like, do I want to save the Glasspool Mimic? Because it can copy Lord of Atlantis now. Yeah, I'm actually thinking we save the Glasspool Mimic. I'm going to play Tideshaper this turn. Hit the Shifting Wildwood. And maybe we'll Subtlety pitch to Glasspool Mimic. And Subtlety pitch Hexcatcher. And we'll play Glasspool Mimic, copy Lord of Atlantis, and have a reasonable clock on the battlefield. Oh, I screwed that up. I was supposed to play Cavern of Souls first. Now I have... I'd prefer to have the blue up. Anyway, so I just missequenced my lands. Or missequence playing my spells. Well, they don't have Urza Saga in hand. They do have Nadu, though. Nadu, pitch Hexcatcher, Glasspool Mimic, copy, have lethal in 2 turns. Looks good to me. Because I attack for 7, then I'm attacking for lethal. So they have to combo off, or they have to find Sylvan Safekeeper. They put it on top, so they like that card. Why wouldn't they? Hexcatcher. Does that change anything? It does a little bit, because I can attack with both these creatures, just flash and Hexcatcher, and I still have a Lord for victory next turn. And then I have a little bit of insurance versus Nadu into... Nadu into, what's it called, Shuko. So I can, for example, sacrifice Hexcatcher to counter a Shuko here. So Nadu resolves. I'm hoping it's just pass the turn. That is my ideal outcome from this board state. They can go Chord for 0 to go get, I don't know, a Dryad Arbor. But that's all their options. Well, they do have a land. Okay, so now they can go Chord for 1. Well, now they can go Chord for 2, actually. Ooh, that makes things really complicated. That makes things very complicated. Yeah, that makes me wonder if I can win from here. I feel like they're hard representing a Court of Calling. That helps a lot. Yeah, actually that helps a lot, because I can... Oh no, but it still doesn't do it. Well, it helps a lot. Okay, we're going to Cast the Glasspool Mimic. I hope I've illustrated how much better Glasspool Mimic is over Lorien Revealed, because, like, we're literally playing this card. A lot. Okay, we're going to copy our Lord of Atlantis. And now we're going to attack with everything. And then if they go Court of Calling, I guess we're just going to have to sack the Hex Catcher. Attack for 8. Yeah. Interestingly, actually, hold on. They got to tap their creatures, right? If they want to go Court of Calling for even 1. So, or if they go Court of Calling for 2. No, they'll never go Court of Calling for 2. I'm just saying, if they tap all their creatures, I have some room to sack this creature to Flare of Denial. And then what I have for... sorry, this won't be 4. This will be 3, 3, 7, 9. Ooh, it's close. No, it's not lethal, though. Okay, they definitely have Court of Calling. They're just wondering what they're going to do with it. Court of Calling for 1 to get the Sylvan Safekeeper. My biggest fear is what they're going to do next turn. Sylvan Safekeeper comes out. Hold on, what if a Sylvan Safekeeper comes out? Like, what does that even do? It can block one. It has to block, actually. They have to sack their land. They sack their land. They block the biggest creature. They take 7. They go to 3. I still have all these things on the board. On the other hand, if they don't have Shuko in hand, they just die, right? Yeah, I don't have a plan post Sylvan Safekeeper. Take 7. Am I sure that if this thing dies, so this is 2, this will be 2, 6, 9. Just 1 short. That's too bad. But maybe it's worth it. Maybe I still... Yeah, if they take 9... Otherwise, if I lose this, that would be a problem if they want to go Chord for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, their chords on the future turns are just so strong. But I don't need... Oh, I should have fetch lands, I guess. Okay, so we'll counter... We'll throw away our Lord of Atlantis. This A maximizes damage, keeps everything on the board. Like, next turn I can just attack with 2 creatures. It's not a big deal. We'll keep Lord of Atlantis back. Like, still technically lethal by next turn if there's no Shuko. Urza Saga does not accelerate itself. And they also can't steal anything with a Volatile Storm Drake. If they take the Lord of Atlantis, we still have Island Walk. They take the Tide Shaper, we attack with Hexcatcher. They take Hexcatcher, we attack with this thing. Ah, no. Okay, so they play this. They go get... I actually can't do anything about this. But the funny thing is, if they sack the Shifting Wildwood, they need another land here. Okay, so they play Summoner's Pact. Oh, no, they can just go get that other creature, right? No, it has to be a green creature. No, they get this, yeah, they get the Sylvan Safekeeper. This is, yeah, has to be a green creature. They get Sylvan Safekeeper. So they need a land here, because if they don't, they can't pay the Summoner's Pact. And then they die. Oh, are they going to play that Tumble card? Landfall. Whenever a land enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Oh, so it looks like they have a land. Double the number of +1/+1 counters on your creatures. There's... It's an island! You still have to sacrifice both islands! Okay, they're dead. Oh no, they got a Court of Calling. With their Nadu. Oh, wait a minute. Does this just win? Oh, no. It's a landfall thing. So they were drawing some cards. So, maybe... Do we lose here? Cord for 3. I can't prevent it. Oh no, I can prevent it. But if I prevent it, I just die next turn. Sticky situation, everyone. Very, very, very sticky situation. Yeah, if I sack everything, they're going to get that creature that, you know, just pays 0 to deal with everything. To target creatures, redirect damage for nothing. So now if I counter... I have to sack my whole board to this, but if I sack my whole board, I can't win. Okay, well, I'm just going to let it resolve then. I gotta hope they misclick in their deck. Which is very unlikely to do. Alright. Good games. And we most definitely lose. So my way of evaluating this game, our game 1 was sort of poor. Game 2, I think they were dead, actually. They needed to play this card. They played their island. They had to target the Springheart Nantuko, and they needed to draw something like Court of Calling to actually win the game. They had to go find one of their combo cards. And we were, from this position, from this board state, we were favored to win the game. But anyway, they hit their Court of Calling, and at that point, they had too many resources for us to counter the thing. Just wondering if there's any alternative way this game could have went. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Makes me wonder if I should just go down at least one of these Glasspool Mimics, because our curve would have been a hell lot better if I know that I don't have to. In all these games, I don't mind one Glasspool Mimic. Having 2 Glasspool Mimics in my hand, even same thing with Lorien Revealed, is actually really awkward, because it's always stalling me on my turn 2 or turn 3. At the very least, if I play Glasspool Mimic once on turn 1, then I know I know I'm like free to play things for the rest of the turn, for the rest of the game. But if I have 2 Glasspool Mimics in hand, that's when it's starting to look really clunky. Same thing with Lorien Revealed. But outside of that, I'd still feel pretty confident in the Nadu matchup. In fact, I even thought that we were in pretty good shape in game 1, except that we drew our 4th Dismember. That's just how it is. Okay, that was match 4. Let's move on to match 5. So we lost the die roll for the 5th time. To remind everyone, we lost every die roll today. And probably would have mattered in every single matchup. Also, we mulligan a lot. This hand is completely useless. Look, the Dismembers, they're coming back. They're coming back to haunt us. So we're going to mulligan this hand. This hand's perfectly good. We'll keep this. And, well, we mulligan, so I like Force Negation a lot less every single time you mulligan. So we'll put that on the bottom. Yeah, we lost all the die rolls. Ragavan! Alright, we're finally up against what looks like Boros Energy. And looks like we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot by quite a bit. I'm going to immediately dismember this Ragavan, because I am going to have a smidge of a Mana Screw plan with Tide Shaper somewhere down the line. And I don't want Ragavan to ruin that for me. Don't want Ragavan to ruin that at all. So we're going to kill this thing. Opponent is waiting on their land drop. They want to see what we're going to do to their Ragavan. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to kill it. Kill it with fire. They go Wooded Foothills. They revealed a Gigantha, so this is probably Boros Energy. What the hell is this? Temple Garden. Oh. Okay. Okay. Well, I didn't see that coming. Well, now what do I do? This can get shrunk by Tide Shaper. But it's still going to be like a 2-2. Alternatively, I can play Dockhand and dismember this and follow it up with like Tide Shaper, but then our Force Negation gets weaker. I sort of like the idea of forcing pitching Dockhand and then follow it up with Lord and kill something. So if they go Tribal Flames to eat up our Tide Shaper, well, they'll have another thing coming for them. Either way, it looks like I'm going to get blasted in the face for a lot of damage. in this duel. Maybe alternatively, I could just like hit the mountain and hope they don't have another red source, but that seems pretty wishful thinking. Did Zoo have this? I can't remember if the Zoo decks played with this card. Discard a card. If you do draw a card, you want to discard a card? What do you want to do here? Orcish Bowmasters. I'm a little bit happier about getting this Tide Shaper out while I could. Definitely don't block the Kavu, because they can go fetch out a Shockland and pump it up. Or even a Tri-land. They can go get anything they want. How big do you want this Kavu to be? You could put the Abzan land in play. The Abzan Tri-land. Okay, we're going to get another green source. Oh, you want your green sources, do you? Was that the only one? They're dumping the Bowmasters. These Bowmasters, they're dropping like nothing. Well, given our hand, I guess we're just going to attack for 2, play Dockhand, and then dismember the Kavu. Or could I race? Lord, attack for 3. I get hit for 4 or 5. Then I go... I don't think I considered that strongly enough. I think there's a very realistic line where I just play Lord, attack for 3. The next time I attack for 7. And then if I can draw a land, I can dismember this thing. And then we pitch Force Negation to the Rishadan Dockhand. There is a world where that would have worked. Anyway, there's a world where this line works too. Or not. Okay, they're playing more stuff. Would you stop it? Oh, I'm not supposed to let it attack. Damn it. Okay, well, that was a mistake. That was a blunder by me. This is a streaming thing. Okay, I can't take any more damage. But I shouldn't have let them discard and draw. If I lose, we'll just blame it on that one play. Kavu's back. Maybe better than ever before. Ooh, and a Scion, which has flying and everything. I have a lot of Lords now. Okay, so if I... this just has First Strike and Trample. So I can soak up 3, take 6. Situation's not good. Or I can attack for 5. I need like one more turn. I'm sort of choked on a land here. I sort of need... Opponent, I sort of need you. That was probably one of the cards they drew off of their Kavu. Attack. Just trying to think, like, how do I play for a win here? Attack for 5, chump block, take 7. No, we're gonna chump. Or I guess we're just gonna have to chump block the Territorial Kavu. It's got First Strike and Trample, so I can't do anything about this. If only I could take one more hit. Yeah, but it looks like we're up. Good old Zoo. Good old Zoo. The flames. The flames of Tribal. Getting quenched by my Force of Negation. I was hoping you were going to play a long time ago. Still drawing them cards with this Territorial Kavu. I shouldn't have let that thing attack last time. So what's in our deck to do anything? I think nothing. I think there's nothing in our deck that can save us from here. Because I can't stop this Scion next turn. And there's no like Merfolk Trickster in this deck to eat up the Territorial Kavu. Just fine. It's just a thing. Okay, well, that works too. Those are all good things. Well, being on the draw versus Zoo, not good, to be honest. Not lovely. Now, Stern Scolding is a trap. Don't bring it in because those Kavus will be like 5/5s on the stack, so you're not actually countering a creature with power 2 or less, power toughness 2 or less. They could be overwhelmingly enormous. So we're going to take out the Spreading Seas. It looks like we can't bring in Hexcatcher because they're playing with Bowmasters. We're going to bring in Subtlety. Force Negation is pretty poor too. Maybe we are going to, or maybe bring in Spreading Seas? Spreading Seas on the play. We do have a lot of good cards. I like all this stuff. I like the Tide Shaper. I like the Harbinger of the Sea. Harbinger of the Sea is a very strong card in this matchup. Very, very, very strong. Don't like Flare of Denial. It looks good, but really, this game's about board presence, and you want to keep that board presence. Maybe we are going to keep it. Force of Negation. We'll keep a few for literally Tribal Flames. I don't know what to do here. I want Hexcatcher, but I also don't want Hexcatcher. Hexcatcher's pretty bad. Let's try Flare. We'll throw away like a Dock Hand when we don't want it. And I'll have one Spreading Seas. Seems like a fine catch-all card. This Flare of Denial. And we're on the play, so we can get to 3 mana and maybe start either countering things or playing things at flash speed. But this is definitely not the matchup for Flare of Denial. Not by a long shot. Hand is good. Good enough. Cards like Harbinger of the Seas are like the key to just like winning the game on the spot. There's a lot of games where, like, if they play, for example, start off with Leyline of the Guild Pact, and you play Harbinger of the Seas, then all their lands turn into islands. Sorry, all the non-basic lands. So it's a timestamp thing. So we'll start with Cavern of Souls, Merfolk, and pass. We'll set up a Lord of Atlantis turn 2. Hopefully. Maybe. Yeah, you're gonna die, Ragavant. You're gonna die. You're gonna die a horrible death. Ooh, we got another Dismember. But it can't... If they go Scion, I can't do anything about it. I'm just gonna play a Lord here. And then hopefully they tap out for Scion or something else, and then we just go Harbinger of the Seas and then race the Scion. And we can race the Scion, by the way. They're not tapping out, so I am not going to go for the Harbinger of the Seas. They might even be anticipating it with like Lightning Bolt. So we're just going to play Master of the Pearl Trident. Attack for 3, play Mutavault, hold up, Dismember. They also might be playing patiently, because they understand the danger of it all. Okay, that's good news. We'll play a Mutavault. There is some chance we attack with this Mutavault next turn. Funny thing is, like, if they try to float a white with... What's it called? Ooh, got a Dock Hand. Now what do we do? I think I'm just going to attack with the Mutavault and the Master of the Pearl Trident. They've got, like, a fetch land up, which can go get, I guess, a mountain. I'll play Dock Hand. Oops, no, this doesn't work. I'll play Dock Hand and hold up Dismember. And then hopefully their removal is exhausted at this point. And we can just slam a Harbinger of the Seas. I get a sense like Harbinger of the Seas might be good now, especially if they have Leyline Binding. Okay, so but they didn't. No, it's not good yet. Not good yet. All right, so we've eaten up 2 Lightning Bolts. It's the War of the Harbinger of the Seas. We've got to bait out all the removal before we can clear the way for this Harbinger of the Seas. Next turn, I'm just going to jam it. For sure. No reason not to. Now remember, they can still crack fetch lands to go get basics if they want, in response to Harbinger of the Seas being played. They are opting not to yet. They have another fetch land, and this is just annoying. Okay, I'm gonna upkeep Dockhead. Am I gonna do anything actually? No, I can draw for the turn. Ooh, Sink into Stupor. This is very interesting. Okay, so let's put them to a decision for some of their chips here. This might look like I'm trying to attack with my Mutavault this turn, so they might just tap it, which they do, and now we get to turn everything into an island. You have fallen right into my trap, NJ741. This was my plan all along. So now time-stamped, everything is an island. And all lands put into play will be islands. And let me tell you, they don't have a whole lot of things to do with islands in that deck. And we can freely attack into them. Let's get that clock going. Get that Dockhand onto the battlefield. I have no reason to do anything with any of my cards, and the game is over. Turns out our opponent wasn't particularly playing around Harbinger of the Seas. I mean, I think they did keep it in mind with their lightning bolts, but we put enough pressure on them that they... I'm not going to play Subtlety yet. We put enough pressure on them that they wanted to use their lightning bolts on our cards, which is completely fair. That's just why I don't jam it immediately. But I thought they were holding back creatures to hold up that lightning bolt. Just turns out they didn't have anything in their hand. Now, do I play Subtlety here to just kill them immediately? I think the answer is yes. I think they don't have anything to do. Yeah, we have 7 power on the board and we win. Okay, we're on the draw now. Which is not good. I don't like being on the draw in this matchup. But you know what? We can't be happy with everything. I don't think I can change anything in this deck. I think it's just going to be how it is. Not really in love with the Spreading Seas on the draw. Not really in love. I really hate Hexcatcher in this matchup. It's not good at attacking. It's not very good at blocking. There's like not really any chunky spells that we're trying to counter. I think it's a little too easy for our opponent to play around, so. And on top of that, they got bow. We do know they have Bowmasters. I can't help but feel how unlucky we are this league. We can't keep like a damn 7-card hand. Like we're always going down to 6. Unfortunately, our opponent is also going down to 6. I'm not gonna keep this. I got a mulligan. I don't really like this hand either. Yeah, I don't really like this hand either, but I guess we're gonna keep it, and I guess we're gonna dump. I think we're gonna dump Lord of Atlantis. Dump Lord of Atlantis. Maybe dump Tide Shaper. Okay, I think we'll dump a Tide Shaper. Because if we have to race, this Lord of Atlantis will be super important. I don't want to throw away any of the lands because I really want to guarantee a Harbinger on turn 3. I think that's too important. Glasspool Mimic is interesting because that can copy our... that's guaranteed to copy Harbinger or Lord of Atlantis. Okay, we got a 2-2 in play immediately. Immediate 2-2. So if they go like Kavu something here, I go with Ragavan. And I don't really want to attack into this Ragavan, to be honest. I'd rather try to trade if I'm allowed to. I can't remember if this deck plays with any counter magic post board. Just in case we're Going to play Cavernous Souls into Lord of Atlantis. It's the only thing that we can do. And I guess we're just going to pass. I'm actually not familiar with how many basics Zoo has in their deck. Maybe I can look that up while... Maybe they have none. Maybe they have none. How many basics do you have? It's hard to find the list because, like, this deck has been, like, pushed out of existence. It's at a similar win rate as Merfolk at sub 1%. They have 1 Plains. That's it. They have 1 Plains. Not a lot. Okay, so they play Tribal Flames there. I will easily block this Ragavan, and then hopefully we play Harbinger of the Seas for victory. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. And it's all islands now. And they just snap resign. All right. So, I know we only went 3-2, but I think that was like a pretty good 3-2. We were on the draw for literally 5 matches. And I think this deck performed incredibly well on the draw. So, and the games that we lost, I think we ran pretty garbage. For example, the burn matchup, where our opponent had a higher end on their range on the play, which is definitely not what we wanted to see. And then in game 2, I can't remember. Oh yeah, we mulliganed to 5 game 2. And we did a lot of mulliganing too. So we were on the draw and we mulliganed a bunch. And we still had, in my opinion, a strong 3-2. And then the Nadu matchup where I draw the 4th Dismember. I only needed 1. I just needed 3. I didn't need the 4th one. Anyway, yeah, I think I really liked how the whole thing played out. So I really wish we got to play against Boros Energy. The main reason that you would want to go Vialus is because it interacts very early on versus Boros Energy. And I'm not going to say this is going to be a slam dunk matchup or anything, but between Spreading Seas, Tide Shaper, Harbinger of the Seas, you get like quite a bit of game versus that matchup. So like if you want to try to beat Boros Energy and you don't want to splash red, splash black, I think going Vialus is definitely an opportunity. The only problem is I do think you're going to decrease your matchup versus Nadu. I still think it's going to be a good matchup. You're going to have a lot of game, but fact of the matter is we don't have Tashanda's Tidebinder in this deck. We don't have Ether Vial. Ether Vial is still a good card versus Nadu, but you still should have a lot of game anyway, otherwise. And whether you have like Spreading Seas in the main or the sideboard is sort of up to you. I sort of like the idea because, again, Nadu is Boros Energy is a difficult matchup, so hitting their mana hard. Sometimes you just play Spreading Seas, Tide Shaper, and they just lose. Like, they can't do anything with the blue mana. And also having a little bit more of an edge versus the Eldrazi / Tron decks, I think is important. Because things like Tide Shaper are soft to Kozilek's Command, but not soft to Spreading Seas. So if you like this type of deck, I definitely can recommend it. I probably didn't playtest it enough. Maybe I should have playtested this more, because I even though we only went 3-2, I think it was a strong 3-2. It was a 3-2 with poor, like, we had to mulligan a lot. We were on the draw every single game, so I think even on the bottom end of our range, we still did very well. That being said, we didn't play against Boros Energy, which is our toughest matchup, above and beyond. Oh, sorry, Boros Energy and Scam. I don't think this deck performs that much better than other versions of Merfolk versus Scam, like the mono black versions. One thing that does help is Spreading Seas, because if you hit their swamp, then that's just like one less swamp that they have to play Necro Dominance, so they literally need to keep drawing more swamps. So there is a bit of room to play Spreading Seas. And I really like how this Glasspool Mimic worked out. But honestly, I think I should cut one and add like 1 island. I think I'd be a lot more satisfied with the list looking like this, because I really never want to have more than 1 Glasspool Mimic in my hand, ever. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be more greedy. Glasspool Mimic helped tons. We casted a lot. We copied a lot of creatures. It was a very interactive card, and I think it was just strictly better than It was mostly better than Lorien Revealed. I think the only time Lorien Revealed would be better than Glasspool Mimic might be versus just Scam decks and maybe Control, and then everything else, Glasspool Mimic would be just superior because the decks are so fast, so aggressive. You do not have time to wait to get to 5 mana and take a turn off to draw 3 cards. You want to be interacting immediately, and this card helped us interact versus all our matchups. So it was very good there. All right, you like Violus? It's definitely a deck that you can play. Smash like for Violus. And thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more of this deck, well, maybe it'll still be good post BNR season because we have no idea what's going to happen. All right, take care, Fish Fam, and I'll see you next time.